welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for waking up with us. Today it is 1 minute after 6 and Visila Sanamugela nomhlehlelweni lapho nisibukela khona kukhumbuta ukuthi ningakhona nokusibukela ka YouTube kanjalo nasetingcingweni tenu mangabe nine Eswatini TV lonifusela kwangilungelele makakula sesiselangeni lesithathu kiyo inyanga yendlovu lenkhulu lomhla ekseni sanamukela ehlelweni Kusile Breakfast Show. It's a Friday ngalabasihlanu ke sihlale sikhulumisana nalabasuka khona ebandleni lelibutha umthelo wahulumende Eswatini Revenue Service namhla ke li Friday yabo yekugcina sitabe ke sikhuluma kabanti nge-VAT record keeping document kusolo siba nabo baka IRS Communications Director sikhuluma kabanti njengetinhlobo tema topics ikakhulukazi nje tindzaba dokubhadalwa wona umthelo namhla ke sitabe sibuke yona i-VAT record keeping sathi ke ukuthi in order ukuthi sikhona ukuprepareisha accurate tax returns kumbalekile ukuthi usupport ngema claims lo wendako kubalekile ke ukuthi ukhone nokugcina proper records lapho sikhulumisana naye communications director ekakhulukazi nje ubuta imibuto ukuthi why should records be kept, who is responsible to produce evidence during a VAT audit. Lapho sikhuluma naye emhlexeni nga 6:30 bese kuthi nga 7 sitabe sina Miss Ecotourism Zandisile how she's a UNESCO graduate. She obtained a degree in BA Humanities majoring in geography and environmental science and planning. She's a 23-year-old. She has started doing a few school visits to engage with the children on a guided conversation about what they know about the environment and what they think we can further do to save it, because you'd be surprised by what bright ideas these young minds have ngekusho kwakhe. So sabe sikhulumisana naye kuvaka abantu ukuthi imisebenzi leminye la sayendile solo abakule sekunda sa Miss Ecotourism, and also what are her goals, her future plans, and also Emma plans noma ke projects that are on the pipeline. Sabe sikhuluma naye umhlexeni nga 7:30, and of course it's a Friday, sawubuka tena tindzaba temidlalo sibuke ne recap yeliviki lonke, and of course sibuke ukuthi ngabe kule mphela somvo ngitiphi temidlalo lesingatikatsa. Let's take a break kwamanje sawubuka netindzaba tetfu.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3# and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nawe lokusanza kusivulela. It's 5 minutes after 6. Sawubuka tindzaba tetfu lomhlexeni. Mfanankulu Cleopas Dlamini sewusukumise ngekomthetho libandla lelitawucinisekisa ukuthi kulungiswe tindlela ukuthi kube melula kwenta ibhizinisi kuleli lelatiwa ngekuthi State Business Relations lelesekelwe inhlangano yemave labamhlophe European Union kanye netekuthengiselana International Trade Center. Libandla lisukunyiswe ngekomthetho ihotela le Hilton Garden Inn eMbabane.
Ngekubuka kwekuthi umnotfo wakulela ukhuli ngelizinga lelifanele, uhulumende sewubuka indlela tekuthi tinhlangothi letahlukene lokufaka ekhatsi emabhizinisi tingasebenzisana kanjani kude umnotfo uthuthuke. Mvunankulu Cleopas Dlamini uchaza kabanti ngelibandla lelisukumisiwe lelitawenta siciniseko saloko.
Umsebenzi lapha khona tingapani private sector titaba nebudlelwano nahulumende lokutawenda ukuthi kulungiswe tindlela tekuthi kube kulula kwenta ibhizinisi la kangwane. Kusho ukuthi nje nangabe kukhona tingapani letitala tocala umsebenzi kwendeke kube lula. Nangabe kukhona abantu labafuna kwenta tinto tabo bakhicite bayotithengisa emaveni angaphandle kwendeke kube lula. Lapha ke kulo umsebenzi esitoko wethula kutaba khona lomele hulumende prime minister utaba ngichairman. Inhloso yako konke lokhu ukuthi kwakhiwe imisebenzi emaswati asebenze ngoba kwanyalo nje wonke umuntu ofuna umsebenzi ubuka hulumende ufuna kuya usebenza kahulumende ufuna kuya emasotsheni ufuna kuya kanti phela uhulumende ngeke akhone kwenta imisebenzi leyenele ukuthi icashe wonke umuntu. Tingapani letitimele leti private lokufuna ukuthi sithi sukumise titokhona kucasha abantu.
Mbasada wenhlangano yemava labamhlophe i-European Union Desislava Chomelova uthi batimisele kwesekela live leSwatini kakhulu kutebhizinisi kanye nekuthuthukisa abantu labasha kanye naso sonke sive semaswati.
We have within this project focused on supporting the implementation of the EU SADC Economic Partnership Agreement. It entered into force in 2016 and its transformational opportunities are largely untapped.
Tinhlangano tabo somabhizinisi ibhizinesi eSwatini kanye neFirstBig titaba ingcenye yaleli bandla kute nato tibe nelive ekutheni ibhizinisi kuleli ngathuthukiswa kanjani. Etindzabeni eSwatini TV nginginelisiwe Ndlangamandla nginambongo Adube eMbabane.
Emalungu elikomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelihhovisi landvunankhulu endlini yabayesikhulu athi uhulumende akaphumele ebaleni achaze ukuthi itawubanjwa nini i-dialogue eveni. Lokhu emalungu akuvete ngesikhathi yadzingidza umbiko wekusebenta kwelihhovisi landvunankhulu lesigaba sekugcina semnyakatimali wahulumende wa 2022-2023.
Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Cleopas Dlamini lomuhla uveleke ngaphambi kwelikomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelihhovisi lakhe endlini yabayesikhulu kutowethula umbiko wekusebenta kwalelihhovisi lakhe kulesigaba sekugcina semnyaka wetimali wahulumende wa 2022-2023. Kanti-ke indzaba lekube indzaba mlenyeni indzaba ye-dialogue njengoba uhulumende alungise imali lenganga 30 miliyoni emalangeni letawucondzana ngco nawo lo msebenzi we-dialogue. Emalungu akafune kwathi ukuthi ingabe yinto yanini lena itawendeka nini eveni.
Inkosi tsita nayikhuluma lapha yathi love thy neighbor. If we are to approach dialogue, let's come with the spirit of neighborliness. Le aloofness, le arrogance, will destroy this country, will destroy a good thing. We are one country, 1.2 million, one language. Why is this animosity?
Sicala nini lokungenani kusensitizer noma ke kuyuva nami nje ngiyafisa kuyokhuluma le lapho ngakhona ngoba ngikhona ukuphindze into ukukhulumela la kepha ngiyalifisa lelo bandla leli yawufika lithi nithini singafiki nale kule dialogue because nale dialogue I think isathi ngak-unpair kwa chair.
Angiyiboni la ku constitution le dialogue manje ngifuna lokuva lokuthi uma ingekho ku constitution ngabe silungiselela kuyenta kanjani sisebenzisa muphi umthetho noma kumbe kutakwendwa special legislation yini angathi ngoba le ngubonako indzaba yesibaya.
Kanti-ke nasihlanganisa lo mbiko emalunga bekasachubeka nekwethula ke tincomo tawo kule ndzaba nekudzingidza wona lo mbiko lwethuleke nguNdvunankhulu. Kanti-ke Ndvunankhulu utawucelela nekuthi ikomiti lakhe liphasise imali lengetulu kwesigitsigitsi semalangeni kute likhoneke lihhovisi lakhe licubeka nemsebenzi walo. Kanti-ke ngaphansi kwelihhovisi laNdvunankhulu kunelibandla lakaNature, kunephalamende, kunemaphoyisa kanjalo necabinet. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV ngingilingithini Gule ngina Sikhumbuzo Dlamini seParliament.
Iphenila Ndvunankulu Themba Masuku selisukumise luhlaka lokusebenza kwamadladla lanakekela abantwana bendlunkulu emiphakathini kanye neluhlaka lotinhlelo leticondzene nebantwana eveni leminyaka lesihlanu kusukela lonyaka kude kube ngumnyaka wanga 2027. Umsebenzi bebanjelwe ehotela at the George Kamanzini.
Liphinla Ndvunankulu lithi letinhlelo titawusombulula tinkinga letibonakele nakwendiwa licwaningo lwesimo sebantfwana yeveni ngeminyaka wanga 2019 lokufaka ekhatsi kungabhaliswa kahle kwabo ludlame lababhekana nalo kanye nekungagomiswa kahle.
The Neighborhood Care Point Strategy 2023-2027 seeks to address a number of gaps which affect children in their local communities. Furthermore, it intends to rekindle the old tradition of Eswatini communities that of caring for their children. If we cared for our children, we would not have problems with teenage pregnancies. We wouldn't, because everybody would make sure who would say, good umntwana lo tawuvinjelwa iqhegu leneslevel lesimhlophe noma ke lonjani avimbele umntwana kubindwe nje. Even emphakathi it's quiet. Even the parents next door are quiet. They will not tell the neighbors that there's a young man who is waylaying this little girl.
Ihhovisi leliphinla Ndvunankulu liphindze lanikelela abafundzisi itimfo letahlukene lokufaka ekhatsi emapolish kwekugeza nekwekutigceba nabasemfuleni lokubita imali lelinganiselwa ku-152,000 emalangeni. Inhlangano lebuketa indzaba tebantfwana i-UNICEF yesekelele lihhovisi ngeticatfulo tesikolwa letingu-250 letibita imali lengu-54,000 emalangeni. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelisiwe Ndlangamandla kunambongwa Dube Kamanzini.
Live leNdiya selethembise kwesekela leSwatini etinhlangothini letahlukene lokufaka ekhatsi temabhizinisi kanye netemfundvo lephakeme lokuvakale ngalomelele lelalive kuleli Brahman Jagabatuni. Ikhuluma ngesikhathi etfula umbiko wabosomabhizinisi bemisebenti yetandla libekathe baye embukisweni welive leNdiya enyangeni lephelile. Indvuna yetemabhizinisi Manxoba Khumalo ithi batawucinisekisa ukuthi eMaswati alubamba ngetandla totimbili lolusito lolulethwa live leNdiya.
Mbasada uthi ufisa kubona live leSwatini lizuza ngalokuphelele kulombukiso welive leNdiya. Uthi lokunye labatawukwenda njengelihhovisi kuvula likhasi langcondvomshina lapho batawufaka khona imifundzate.
A focus country will have an exclusive arena, exclusive stall, and you can take many more craftspeople, many more culture people. It appears there are many more universities in India who want to participate in the program. The portal is going to be open and more time will be given to students to submit their applications.
Indvuna yetemabhizinisi nekutsengiselana Manxoba Khumalo seyivele itfume tinhlangothi letitsindzekako kwekutsi tiwabuke lamatfuba kute kuzuze eMaswati.
Sesivile nalamhla ukuthi solotandla takhe tivulekile bathi kulomnyaka lotako batawusinika lithuba lokuthi live la kaMbwane libe yi-focus country kule trade fair leNdiya lento kanjalo ngeminyaka lelithuba ke siyalimukela siyalithatha silitiko la commerce sitawusebenzisana nawo onke ematiko ahulumende kufuna indlela yokuthi sibudgeta njani ukuze ukuthi singanodlala ngalo lelithuba. Sivile ke futhi ke lamhla basitshela ukuthi baphindze batawuvula iportal ku social media lapho khona bantwana beMaswati labafuna kuyafundza eNdiya sebangangena khona bafune tikolwa taloko labafuna kuyakufundza futhi ke bafune nama scholarships.
Indvuna ithi inhloso yelitiko kucinisekisa kwekutsi eMaswati kakhulu bosomabhizinisi bayathutfuka kungako ematfuba laletfwa live leNdiya atalisita kakhulu loluhlangothi. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelisiwe Ndlangamandla kunamusi Mkhonda eMbabane.
Indvuna yelitiko letisebenti nenhlalakahle yato phela Buthelezi ithi umnotfo uthuthuka kangcono uma ngabe kunekubambisana nekuvana emkhatsini wemcashi netisebenti. Indvuna ithi lapho kungaphathwana kahle khona lizinga lemkhicito liba lincane kakhulu. Buthelezi abekhuluma ngesikhathi ayobuka indlela yokusebenta yenkampani yashukela iUbombo Sugar Limited.
Luhambo lwendvuna yelitiko letisebenzi nenhlalakahle yato phila Buthelezi lekubuka ukuthi inkampani yashukela iUbombo Sugar Limited isebenta kanjani. Licale ngekuthi indvuna ihambe iyawuvakashela inkampani letfunga timphahla iJS Clothing yengca yendlulela enkampanini yeUmoba. Indvuna seyetfula inkhulumo yayo kubo baphathi bale nkampani ivetile ukuthi lokubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi kube nekuvana emkhatsini webaqashi kanye netisebenzi.
Loku driver economy eveni kokuthi tisebenzi nebaqashi bangilaba phathene kahle ngoba for you to have a good employee kufuna ibe ngile motivated, i-dedication iqhamuka ekuhlalisana kahle. If there are challenges sikhona kubuya phasi etafuleni siwalungise.
Umphathi wale nkampani Muzi Siyaya uchazile ukuthi noma eminyakeni lophelile kube netinkinga letitsite le nkampani lebhekene nato kepha ke itimisele ekuthenini isitelive ukuthi umnotfo uvuke phindze futhi ke nato inhlalakahle yetisebenzi inakeke ngalokuphelele.
We are very embedded in the communities in which we operate, and we often tend to look at our employees as an extension of the community. And this is, sufficiently reflected in our benefit structure. We house our employees. We pay far above the minimum wage in the country, and it's a conscious effort to do that.
Umphathi wale nkampani uvetile ukuthi le nkampani ifake imali lenganga 1 billion emalangeni emnothweni welive kusukela ngeminyaka wa 2017 kude kube ngumnyaka wa 2021. Etindzabeni bikaSonto Mlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu eBig Band.
Inkampani yetindiza Royal Eswatini National Airways Corporation sememedele luhla lokuthi titawundiza kanjani tindiza takuleli Eswatini Air. Ngekusho komphathi wale nkampani Qiniso Dlamini esigabeni sekucala kunendiza letawusuka eSwatini iye eJozi mhlatinge emashumi lamabili nesithupha kule nyanga. Esigabeni sesibili kuyawuba nendiza letawusuka esikhumulweni setindiza esikhuphe iye edolobheni leHarare kusukela mhla ka-14 enyangeni letako. Esigabeni sesithathu kutawuba nendiza letawusuka esikhuphe iye eThekwini kusukela mhla tisihlanu ngenyanga yeNkhwekhweti kuwona lomnyaka.
Sekugcina ke sisabe sesifaka ekhathi iCape Town kuyabe kumhla ka-2 kuJune. Sitawusebenza ke le ndiza ke itawuhamba kathathu ngeliviki, ngalesithathu, ngalesihlanu nangelisonto. Itawusuka esikhuphe nga-10:20 ifike eCape Town nga-1:50 emini. Bese isuka eCape Town nga-2:50 ifike esikhuphe nga-4:10. Savuliwe ke ema-reservations ethu nalapha ungathenga khona ematikiti. Nawufuna ukusithola ungasithola nge-email ku-reservations@eswatini.co.za. Sevele ivuliwe ke leyo email noma ushaye inombolo let's 2518-0100 i-Eswatini Air Customer Service Center leyo itawuba khona kusukela nga-6 March 2023. And then nge-website yethu let's www.eswatiniair.co.za itawuqala yona mhla ka-20 March 2023. I-Customer Service Center sinayo ke kaManzini shop 6, 7 and 8 laphana eManzini Junction. Nakhona ungasivakashela noma ke ubhuke ku-APG Airlines naHan Air labangibophathini bethu lapha ekuthengiseni amatikiti.
Inkampani yashukela iUbombo Sugar Limited ithi itimisele ukubambisa uhulumende etindzabeni tekuphehla gesi lapha eveni. Kungumanje le nkampani iphehla gesi lolinganiselwa kulokulishumi ekhulwini 10%. Ngokusho komphathi wetenhlalakahle kule nkampani Leonard Nzimanze kusemgomeni wayo bayinkampani kwenta siciniseko sokuthi njengoba live lisemkhankasweni ukuthi ligcine letikicitela gesi walo nabo bangalenkampani bafake isandla lesibande ekutheni leliphupho lahulumende ligcine lifezekile. Simanze ukusho lokhu emhlanganweni bahleli bemitfombo yebetindzaba lobo banjelwe ihhotela eMountain View eMbabane.
Siyinkampani kungumsebenzi wethu ukuthi sibambisane nahulumende nasikhuluma nje nyalo kukhona vele gesi lesufakako losebenziswa khona lapha Eswatini nasi ngathatha nje sibuke inombolo it's between 8 to 10% ekhulwini lesiku that we are sending into the grid. Lokubuka ke ukuthi singenda njani to ukuthi sente lokunengi going forward. Siyinkampani sibukile vele sisebenzisana naye uhulumende wesilo ukuthi nathi siyinkampani siyakholelwa lokuthi kukhona lesingakwenda ukukhulisa lelinani lesinalo but ke obviously as you know these are processes and certain processes lekusamele ukuthi siwalandzele ukuze sikhone kufika la sifuna kufika khona.
Ibandla letelikhetfo nemincele yetinkhundla Elections and Boundaries Commission latisa sive kule miphakathi ngaphansi kwaletinkhundla letilandzelako ukuthi sibe ingcenye yemihlangano yokufundza ngelukhetfo ngananka emalanga. Esifundeni sakaManzini kutaba senkundleni yasemahlangatsha umphakathi kukaZulu nga-10 ekseni. Eshiselweni inkundla yaseMathanjeni South umphakathi kusekwaluseni nga-10 ekseni. Kanye nasemphakathi eNkonga naseDinabanye nga-10 ekseni. Nasemphakathini waseNgudzeni, emphakathini wasendushulweni ngaphansi kwenkundla yeNgudzeni nga-10 ekseni. Nasenkundleni kaSomdongo ngaphansi kwemphakathi emaplotini kanye navimbizibuko nga-10 ekseni. Emgcibelo lelibandla litabe likaHoho enkundleni yaseHukwini emphakathini kaSiko nga-10. Enkundleni yaseMbabane East emphakathi eMdzimba nga-10. Kanti libonjeni inkundla kutaba sempolonjeni umphakathi kukaShoba kanye naseligongolweni umphakathi kusemakhewu nga-10 ekseni. Kamanzini khona inkundla kusemhlambanyathi emiphakathi kusebhunya emlindazwe emhlambanyathi kazondwako nga-10 ekuseni. Bese kuthi eshiselweni inkundla kusehosiya umphakathi kukaHoho emuva nga-10 ekuseni. Eshiselweni 2 umphakathi kusemakhwelela nga-10 ekseni. Ezombuzo emuva umphakathi ngungwenyameni nga-10 ekuseni. Bese kuthi ngelisondvo sifundza sakaHoho inkundla kutaba seMbabane East umphakathi kuseFontaine nga-8 ekseni. Bese kuba nenkundla yaseNkhaba emphakathini eNkhaba nga-10 ekuseni. Elibonjeni inkundla kutaba seGilgal emphakathini esigcaweni naseligongolweni emphakathini esithathaweni nga-8 ekseni. Kamanzini khona inkundla kuseludzeludze umphakathi kusekudzeni nasenkamanzi ngabo-10 ekseni kanye nasemanzini North emzimnene nga-10 ekseni. Eshiselweni inkundla kusesandleni umphakathi kusenkhungwini kanye nakumethula umphakathi kukaNkomonye kanye nakanzameya nga-10 ekseni. Asike labasha labakhubatekile bomake nabobabe bangasali kulomhlangano. Simemetelo sikhishwa ngosihlalo welibandla umfana Nkosi Mhlaplangene Dlamini. Inhloso yaqinisekisa ukuthi itibi tihlungeka ngendlela lebhekekile tite tifike emakethe. Ibandla lelibuke kongiwa kwemvelo lifundzisa sive sasekwaluseni ngekulahla nekugcinwa kwetibi. Umchumanisi wesive nalelibandla belusile Mhlanga uthi kuloluhlangothi lokuthengiswa kwetibi kunesidingo sokuthi emaswati akhona ukutakhela imikhicito leyahlukene kungagcini ngekuthi kuthengiswe tibi kuphela. Mhlanga bekakhuluma emhlanganweni lobanjelwe eGwamile Vogue Team kuMathapha.
Libandla lelibuke kongiwa kwemvelo libambisene nenhlangano iWomen Unlimited kanye nenkampani yahulumende eSwade icecesha abantu basekwaluseni labangu-80 labatawuhambisa lwati kule nkhundla ngekugcinwa nekulahlwa kwetibi. Ngekusho komxhumanisi wesive naleli bandla belusile Mhlanga, leli bandla lisemkhankasweni wokunciphisa tibi letilahlwa emigodzini kanye netibi letishiswako.
Kune-buyback center ke leyakhiwe ke enkundleni yasekwaLuseni. Lolu hlelo ke lwanamuhla ukuthi likhona kusita le-buyback center njengoba nje na kunebantu labakhethiwe ukuthi batawusita kule pilot bafundzise sive emakhaya etindzaweni leti tawukhethwa ukuthi leli hlelo licale khona ukuthi bahlukanise tibi tabo emakhaya shothi sikhuluma tindzaba desegregation ye-waste at source. Lokhu kwendeka ke ukuthi batawuhamba lamakhaya babafundisa abantu nangekuphathwa nje kwetibi njengoba sathi ukuthi ikwaLuseni nebantu labaningi tibi tikhicitwa ngezinga lelo lelisetulu. Kukhona ke labatilahla kwetibi tabo batimixe kumathapha but nakhona le kumathapha town council le landfill le tibi nasetiningi kakhulu ingagcina le landfill nayo ingasakhona ukuthi itithathe. Kungako ke sisukumise lo mkhankaso ukuthi asizameni ukunciphisa tibi legcina setilahlwe khona elandfill ngokuthi leto letingaphindze tisebente ti reclaimwe dihambe tiyo recyclishwa ngilabo labahlukahlukene.
Leli bandla letemvelo lichuba lo msebenzi ngekwesekelwa inhlangano yakamhlaba iNido. Tindzabeni kubika Sondo Mlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu kumathapha.
Kutemidlalo sitaqala kuletitsinza abadlali labancane lekungiheli hoy wemidlalo wekubhukusha kanye nasi lihlelelo yemathebula wemidlalo we-taekwondo lapho khona labadlali lababili batfole imihlomelo ye-outstanding junior sportsman kanye na-outstanding sportswoman emcimbini wekuhlomelisa abadlali labahambe imbili emidlalweni leyahlukahlukene. Abadlali lababili sebavele babuke kumelela live emidlalweni lemikhulu ye-Africa Championships kulomnyaka losetulu itawubanjelwa eveni lase-Congo Brazzaville kanye nemidlalo yema-Olympics yemnyaka wa 2024 edolobheni le-Paris.
Etindzabeni tetemidlalo sitawucala ke sibuke letitsinza abadlali labancane lokungiheli ho wemidlalo wekubhukusha kanye nasihlelelo mathebula wemidlalo we-taekwondo lapho khona labadlali lababili bathola imihlomelo ye-outstanding sports junior sportsman kanye na-outstanding sportswoman emcimbini wekuhlomelisa abadlali labahambe embili emidlalweni leyahlukahlukene kule minyaka lemibili endlulile. Labadlali lababili sebavele ke babuke kumelela live emidlalweni lemkhulu ye-African Championships kulo mnyaka losetulu letawubanjelwa eveni lase-Congo Brazzaville kanye ke nemidlalo yema-Olympics yemnyaka wa 2024 edolobheni le-Paris.
Bengayi-expect to be honest, but first of all nothing beats hard work and dedication, so I would first like to thank my mom for being there, supporting me, making sure that I attend every tournament. Plan is to be number one and strive for the best and attend more tournaments, and hopefully I'll see myself in the Olympics in 2028.
This year, basically, I'm just training my hardest up until zone 4 it's supposed to be Lilongwe, Malawi. So that's what I'm training for at the moment. And then there's world champs in Japan, which I'm hoping to go for. And yeah, that's all I have for this year so far.
Kanike inhlangano yemidlalo yema-Olympics kanye naleyo yema-Commonwealth ithi lokuphumelela kwalabadlali labancane kubanika ke lithemba ukuthi likusasa lelive emidlalweni yema-Olympics kanye nema-Commonwealth lihle sibili.
So this is really encouraging, particularly because some of these awardees are actually holders of the Olympic Solidarity Paris 2024 scholarships. So this shows us that they're on the right path.
Kulokunye inhlangano yemidlalo yokubhukusha ithi imidlalo yama-National Championships leqhubekako inemithetho lemisha leyenta ukuthi lizinga lekucuselana kulomnyaka libe setulu sibili.
You know, there's certain qualification criteria that the swimmers need to meet right through the year, and they have the opportunity to do so. So by the time we get to the nationals, really we are dealing with the cream of the crop in terms of swimming in Eswatini.
Kanti kuleqhamuka emidlalweni webhola lemidlalo itawube ingena elangeni lelishumi nesiphohlongo. Kulamaqembu lamane lahamba embili kulendzebe yalonyaka ngalesihlanu iGreen Mamba lehlele sicongweni itathola netulu nethambuthe enkundleni yakalanga. Ngemgcibelo enkundleni yase-Prince of Wales imbabane Swallows itathola netulu nemadlenya bese kuthi Young Buffaloes ithola netulu ne7 Dreams. kanti ngelisomva enkundleni yasemavusi iTenba Sundowns itathola nayitulo nemanzini Wanderers bese kuthi labavikela lenzebe Leopard ithula nayitulo neMbabane Highlanders. Kanti kulesichamuka ngephandle tithi Justin Fontaine lo wadlalela likhethelo lesive leFrance waphindze waqeqesha likhethelo lesive sewushile emhlabeni aneminyaka lengu-89. Fontaine wadlala kulenzebe yemhlaba yeminyaka wa-1958 leyabanjelwa eveni laseSweden lapho washaya khona amagoli langu-13 emidlalweni lesithupha. Even laseNgilandi iqembu leArsenal liyaqhubeka nekutibekela emathubeni lamahle ekuphakamisa indzebe yalonyaka kulandzela kushaya Everton ngamagoli lamane ecandzeni lokusho ukuthi seyinemaphuzu lang-6 emidlalweni ling-25 lapho khona bashaye Manchester City leyesibili kulendzebe ngamaphuzu lasihlanu. Sagcina lethi ichamuka ebholeni lemphebethe lapho khona Novak Djokovic waseveni laseSerbia sawuchubekela esigabeni sema-quarter finals endzebeni yeDubai Open kulandzela kushaya Talon Grexpua waseveni laseNetherlands. Lebekela umsakazo weSwatini TV temidlalo ngiphathizwe MC bana Fabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Ngafa 6 diphesa lapho tindzaba tethu lamhla ekseni Star Self nasibuya sikhulumisana na Communications Director Eswatini Revenue Service mhla sikhuluma nge-VAT record keeping. Welcome back. You're still watching the Celebrity Fest show. Sakuvusela nawo losanza kuzivulela till Friday njalo ngabo lesihlanu esihlale sikumadona tindzaba tekubhadalwa kwemthelo na Communications Director losuka eSwatini Revenue Service uvusi Dlamini Friday wakhe bekugcina namhla sita besibuka VAT record keeping. I think sedetsinzile nje ema topics lamanengi so lo bacala kuba nasi ehlelweni sesimo ukuthi kunisitile ukuthi abe khona atochazela nje ukuthi imithetho noma ke imithelo elethite ibhadalwa kanjani. So namhla sibe sikhuluma nge-VAT record keeping. I think la ivatako lenkampani icoka ukuthi inkampani noma bosomabhizinisi bakhona ukupreparation ama-accurate tax returns ngaleso sizathu ke batawukhona nokuthi bakhona ukusupporta lawo ma-claims abo kubalekile ukuthi bawagcine ema-records idakomisana naye Vusi Dlamini ukuva kabanti ukuthi ngabe vele kubaleka kangakanani ukuthi bawagcine lama-records lawo and also who is responsible to produce evidence during a VAT audit nalamenye ke emibuto nkosi siyakuvusela. Thank you so much ukuthi ukhonile kuvuka nathi lomhla ekseni noma nje kulanga lekugcina sithemba ukuthi sitakubona later in the year. Just a recap mhlambe singakangeni kuyo i-VAT record keeping nkosi tonke letinyanga leti nje solo sikhuluma dona tindzaba temithelo kubhadalwa kwama-tax returns kusabenziswa kwama-tax returns bo self-assessment is I think ma-topics lamaningi leswabukile lawa mhlawumbe just ku-recap nje kiwo lawo ma-topics lambalwa mhlawumbe lesingathi abalulekile ukuthi bathile bawade.
Asibonge Lulu. I think silibonga nelithuba and we hope ukuthi sitawuphinde sichubeke mhlawumbe nalo lihlelo ezumnyaka wethu uqala nga-April siyethemba ukuthi mhlawumbe towards like bo June July sitawuphinde sibuye sitawuchuba lona lihlelo sethembe njengoba ushite ukuthi sethembe bayasitakala labo labakhona kulibukela lihlelo. I think if I were to just do a few highlights of our program, I think a few things that we've spoken to in the filing season, I think we'll know normally the biggest time for the tax service or for the revenue service in less katsila pokona kupeka kona gutse business and those individuals usually that will be happening from the month of October throughout to December. We want to also highlight that that is very important period because ngilapho khona bosomabhizinisi bakhona kusipikela ukuthi engabe dingapane tabo noma lawo mabhizinisi abo asebende kanjani. I think we did speak to other issues of bringing in of goods in the country, the importance of declaring things as they come through the border, and kuwa declare kahle lawo goods is very crucial, it's very important. And it also links to what we do as a country from a SACCO perspective. I think we will remember Jenyalo, Minister of Finance, Honorable Nira Kenberg, Naga present high budget. One of the things that is being mentioned is that SACCO receipts as a country, they increased dramatically, and we managed to get some 11.75 billion, I think, as a country, which is a first in ever. Now, I think we want to emphasize that that is also as a result of the effort that those that are bringing goods into the country are doing in terms of declaring them, which is why we want to continue to emphasize goods. As goods are coming through the country, noma ngabe leto tinwa titawu qualify ukuthi ubhadale noma dingephasa ezingene ukuthi ubhadale, we still prefer that we still really encourage members of the public especially to declare those goods as they go through the border. I think we've spoken to issues of integrity as well. We, as an organization, we are one organization that lihambisa embili vele indzaba yekutiphatsa kwetfu as tisebentela yona i-revenue service. So the work that we do ngaphandle kwekutsi kube nalawo ngidawuthi tindlela letingenda kwekutsi igcine ilahleka kwayona le mali lesiyikolekela hulumende. So we want to emphasize that our job is to ensure that we collect the revenue siyikoleke with that integrity. VAT is also a very key bit that we are is a modern tax layer introducer, we'll remember in 2012. Self-policing tax, we always say, because it's the type of tax that you know what you have made and you know what you have been charged, and then you only bring the difference to the ERS, which then brings us to the topic that we last spoke about. I think the last topic we spoke about was that of e-assessment that normally would then be done by the ERS, especially on VAT, because maybe that business has not submitted returns, which we say is estimated assessment for VAT purposes. Logu kanza kwekuthi ekugcineni kwako konke bosomabhizinisi akubabeki kahle ngokwekuthi utawuthola ukuthi nasesenda lawo ma-assessments vele they will be a bit high, and until the business comes to us and declares and gives us the records, which leads us to the topic that we have today, where we are saying it's very important that as a business, from a VAT perspective, you keep all the records, because as I mentioned, VAT is self-policing, it's self-regulatory basically. We are kona kutendela wena wati kutsi, because it's all about selling and buying. Whatever you sold, you have been charged VAT. You charged VAT. Whatever you bought, you have been charged VAT. The difference is that whatever becomes the difference between that is then what you bring to the revenue service.
I think so highlighted ukuthi it's even more critical for businesses ukuthi babe nalama records lawo for purposes ukuthi babe ne evidence yama sales and purchases abo. So then masekwendiwa le audit, who is responsible for producing evidence ukuthi vele ukuthengiwe loku i-VAT yabhadalwa?
The way it's supposed to work is normally, or I wouldn't even say normally, I would say legally, the VAT Act stipulates whenever a business registers for VAT, gufuna ibe na nominated person. That is the person that we ordinarily liaise with when it comes to issues of VAT. Is that nominated person. Usually it's a person that is within the business, that runs the business, who knows what exactly is happening within the business, and ours is to liaise with that person because at least they know what exactly is happening within the business. So in the same vein as in go income tax, which is another tax, we have what we call a public officer, who is the person responsible for that tax, or for that for running that business. Naga VAT in a corner, we have what we call a nominated person. What will happen sometimes is that the business will have the person, but they will then maybe appoint another one. In the business, the person is very senior, maybe they don't really have that time to be hands-on on what exactly is expected. You'll find that they will then appoint someone else within the organization that will do the day-to-day, and then we will recognize that person as long as they have been appointed accordingly.
Okay, ngosingathi ukuthi vele for the past months nje sike sakhuluma nge-topic kusabe talk about tax returns. I think waveta lokho ukuthi vele kube niba nenkinga nemabhizinisi la submitting esikhathi ama-tax returns. So ngifuna ukuthi ukuthi le record keeping, is it one of the issues mhlambe lenibhekene nayo ezi-IRS mabhizinisi ayakhona lokubeka lokugcina ama-records abo nanisasebenzisana ni issue lenibona ukuthi ikhona yini vele inganani?
It is a big issue, I think, again, particularly for those businesses that are not, I would say, the small and medium enterprises, where you find that they keep records, but not necessarily the way we expect that they should. VAT, as Ngisho, is the type of tax that says, okay, what did you do? And if you did this, show it to us. So you'll find that sometimes a person or a business says, but then when we say, where's the sales record, you find that sometimes there is no sales record. Business so and so, but then we will then be requiring the invoices from the people. Sometimes those invoices are not there. And we worry because then you find that businesses at the end of the day are claiming or are making claims of what we call input tax, of things that they have not really incurred, if I were to put it that way. We say things that they have not incurred because they cannot show us the evidence. I think emphasize VAT evidence, or tax in general is evidence. When we're doing audits, we are checking, we could say, and the only way that you can show us is to show through evidence, which is basically the records that we're talking about today.
So it should be original invoices, copies
Yes, and we want to emphasize that original invoices are very, very crucial when it comes to issues of VAT.
Okay, so ingabe nje Nkosi mhlawumbe nasikhuluma nje ngato sesibuka nje indzaba ye-compliance nje overall ngiyatloka ukuthi sike sayithinta yona indzaba and uhle ukhala lokuthi vele ngasibatheli mhlawumbe namabhizinisi nawo solo asalela emuva kumbe nje kuthatha wona amabhizinisi ukuthi ibaleka kangakanani lokuthi vele ba-comply na-IRS.
Our job as the ERS, we exist to ensure that everyone complies to the legislation that we have as a country. That is all the different laws that we administer, be it the income tax order, be it VAT Act, Customs and Excise Act, which speaks to importation and exportation of goods. We really want to emphasize that is very important. Because we expect that everyone, the reality of it practically is that those businesses are contributing to the economy, and the way businesses contribute to the economy is very simple. It is through taxes. If they are making profits, they will be expected to pay taxes on those profits. And then obviously if they are profitable and they continue to grow, they employ people. As they employ people, those people also, if they reach a certain level, they then qualify to pay pay as you earn. So the compliance bit is very important, is very, very crucial for the country, because then the government is the Minister of Finance is standing up in Parliament every year and saying, here is what we are going to do as a country this year. Here is our budget. Here is how much we are going to be spending. Nakathi, here is how much we're going to be spending. Akusho ukuthi usukana cash in the bank. The money is projected to be coming from revenue or tax revenue streams. Most of it will be coming from me and you. It will be coming from all businesses, which is why we emphasize that businesses must comply.
Just one last question, Nkosi. Lama records lawa lokhu lekumele ba bosomabhizinisi bawagcina. How long should they be kept? Is it years? Is it months? Ingabe vele mhlambe banesikhathi lesinganani nje ukuthi bangabe solo bawagcinile?
The law stipulates 5 years, I think, is the minimum. You can keep them longer, but at least they should be kept for 5 years. I think the other emphasis is that they should be kept in the country. We have seen some businesses who would find Gutsi, they've got maybe a leg in another country, say South Africa. They are keeping those records in another country or in South Africa. We expect that all records must be kept local, because this is so that when we are doing audits also, we know where to find the business, we know where to find the records. So they must be kept for a period of 5 years minimum, and so that if when they might be when they audit, we know that we will still find those records, and they must be kept in the country.
So Nkosi, lastly, your contact details.
We encourage bonke labafisa ukuxhumana nathi basithinze ku-2406 4050. That's our contact center. And they can also, people are on WhatsApp. Our number on WhatsApp is 7606 3735. Email also info@ers.org.sz. We are also available on Facebook, and they can find us on Facebook. I have said many times that we do a lot of one-on-ones in our inbox, and where we are assisting some of our clients on issues relating to tax.
So bengifuna ukubuza nje ngokugcina ngicela lo WhatsApp lama responses, are they automated noma mhlambe you speak to an actual person lo takuphendula kahle nje directly what you're asking?
That's a very good one. In Guanyalo, we still have the contact center team that is the one that's responding to the questions. But we are getting there. We know that we are introducing a new system, and we know definitely that at some point in time we want to go into the use of other ways, so that it becomes easy to get responses without any human intervention. I intervene umundu if maybe there is a complex question. Otherwise, the basic questions people will be asking: what is the deadline for VAT? You should get an automated response immediately you post it. But at the moment, we still have a team that is looking after the number.
Thanks so much ngosisema kakhulu sethemba ukuthi sitaphinze sikubone mathudane sitawuchibeka sithiteke tindzaba tekubhadala kwamthelelo nombolo ngu-7606 3745 3735 nombolo ya WhatsApp ke leyo utakhulumisana ne-D70 tase-call center. Sibahlete mangathi sitabe ne-traffic.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo even.
Kulapho kukhuthathwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bumcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yabantu. Siphindze sibuke indlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala Eswatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwempahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile, emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sivele sihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya.
Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa embube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
Welcome back. It's 8 minutes before 7 o'clock. Let's cut sister Simo Semkwaqo with Sergeant Gula. Sekufusele Gule lomhlakseni khambeka kanjani imigwaqweni live.
Anguvusele Thombeni, ngivusele umbukeli welihlelo. Nanamhla sivuka sinayo inkungu lelandzela sona simo selitulu. Siyawukhumbula amalangeni lamahle ukuthi ngathi imvula lesibenato even imigwaqo solo ayikho simele sikahle. Siyakhuthata nje kakhulu ukuthi asinakisise lapho sihamba khona. Lapha eTulu nje nawusuka eBhunya ubheka khona lapha bomalutha libloho lethu lapho solo lalimala lapho lelenda ukuthi imoto lotingakhona ukuphambana nakhona siyakhuthata nje kakhulu lokusekunene. Yebo akusiwo umgwaqo lobonakala uphithitela kodwa nje unetingcono letinkulu letidinga ukuthi sibeketelelane sineketane wona emathuba lapha indawo selibonjeni nakhona nawusuka khona lapha emaphiveni ubheketha abangulu umgwaqo wethu lapho solo walimala sisebenzisa iditho kanjalo ke nalapha kalomahasha sivile ukuthi awunamuhla vele kuyawuvalwa ngalokuphelele nalapho besincengancenga khona kulona mgwaqo lo road failure taba khona nje amaphoyisa kusukela ngesimbi yesiphohlongo kwenda siqiniseko sokuthi siyalawulwa ngalokuphephile indlela lesingasebenzisa ngayo lo mgwaqo lesivulelwe wona lapha eTulu esipiki nawuqhamuka emathamo nakhona ubheka khona lapha ekuTulu bomsahweni nalapho umgwaqo wethu walimala sisebenzisa ingcenye yemgwaqo munye. Siyakhuthata nje nakhona bekunene ukuthi asibeketelelane njengoba imoto lotingaphambani kuleyo ngcingwana leyo. Kanti ke emadolobheni ethu italati letivaliwe solo sivaliwe sitalati somhlolo road edolobheni laseMbabane siphinde futhi sivalwe nesitalati sethu esingumakhosini drive. Kanti kamanzini khona asivetele ukuthi 10 Bergen Street solo uvaliwe lapha nawusuka eSatellite ukhuphukela khona lapha eTulu kubo Pick and Pay kanjalo ke naso sitalati sethu lesilapha eTulu lapha ngase Estel House nawubheka khona kuLkhaka naleso sitalati leso sivaliwe. Lesingakugcizelela lokunye kunangumgwaqo lo interchange lapha siyakhuthata kakhulu ukuthi awube kunene kunaba labaqhamuka eMadonsa asicaphele phela bekunene lo mgwaqo awuvumi ukuthi nawu overempile uqhamuka khona edolobheni bese ufike ushaya i-U10 ujikela khona emathuneni. Ngekwenta njalo sifaka labanye bashayeli etingotini njengoba kufuna ukuthi uvule i-endlenele yekujika lapho. Siyacela nje bekunene asiuhloniphe intuthuko itawuta naso sigonyo kulomunye kepha ke yende ukuthi sihambe kahle sisonke nasisibambisene lo mgwaqo. Siyacela nje ukuthi aseweleni etindzaweni letifanele asijikeni silandzele tona timpawu temgwaqo nalungavumi ukuthi yendi U10 vele ungakwendi lokho. Siyakhuthata nje kakhulu bekunene ukuthi asinde kanjalo. Kungaba ngiloko nje kuseni sithi nje awubekunene sisasebenzisa yona imigwaqo sikhumbule unaka netimpawu temgwaqo nje siyathola ukuthi lapha kumathapha lapha elisushwana nathi sasebeni nje losikhuluma kanjalo nalapha eTulu kumalagwane sekume iloli ime lapha nawubuka yona naye i-cooling station lapha eTulu lapha nakhona siyacela bekunene asichubeke sishayele ngalokukhulu cophelela. Kungaba ngiloko nje ekuseni siyabonga kakhulu Thombeni ngenifisele ilanga lelihle naso sive semaswati sisifisele ilanga lelihle naleliphephile sawusebenzisa emgwaqo.
Sibakhulu kule kusiniketa lo yombiko waso simo semgwaqo. It's 4 minutes before 7 asibahloli tamakethe siyabuya netindzaba ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Do you remember the spinning thing? This is us. This picture represents what we did. We were there when coronavirus wreaked havoc in our population. Together with other stakeholders, we formed the first line, controlling the spread of the unknown and unseen enemy of the people. Anxious ourselves, we collected dead bodies countrywide. At the time, When no one wanted to come near dead bodies of loved ones, we did care for our fellow citizens. Thank you, the people of Eswatini and teams of first responders.
Using an ATM is a simple process. You simply insert your card, punch in your PIN, and withdraw your cash. However, this simple process can open up you and your finances to some dangers. So it is very important that you proceed with caution when using the ATM and never share your PIN. When approaching the ATM, it is very important that you have your card ready, either in your hand or in your pocket, so that you do not waste time going through your belongings, either your wallet or your handbag, as this will give opportunities for thieves to act. Thirdly, put your money away immediately. Don't give anyone an opportunity to grab your cash or your card after a withdrawal. Lastly, always take your receipts after each and every transaction. It is important that you get your sleep after every transaction because it contains crucial information about your balances, and that may lead you to be a victim of bolandela. Be cyber aware, be cyber smart.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3 hash and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back at 7 o'clock. It's time for international news. Top diplomats from the group of 20 industrialized and developing nations ended their contentious meeting in New Delhi on Thursday with no consensus on the Ukraine war.
Nipped in the bud just hours after it started, G20 foreign ministers were unable to reach a consensus as they gathered in New Delhi on Thursday.
Unfortunately, the declaration on behalf of all G20 ministers could not be approved. Our Western colleagues, just as they did a year ago under the Indonesian presidency, tried by all possible means to give prominence to the situation in Ukraine, which they, of course, present under the spin of the so-called Russian aggression.
We should not allow issues.
Earlier, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had urged those present to focus on agreements that could be reached on issues such as food and energy security, climate change, and debt. G20 countries are divided over the war in Ukraine. India and China both have strong ties with Moscow and have refused to condemn Russia's invasion. On Thursday morning, a U.S. senior official said that Blinken and Lavrov had spoken for under 10 minutes on the sidelines of the summit. It was the first high-level meeting between the two countries in months. The Russian Foreign Ministry later issued a statement saying that the two had spoken on the move, but did not hold negotiations or a meeting. Blinken had earlier said that he had no plans of meeting either his Russian or Chinese counterpart.
More than 100 students were hospitalized in Iran after a new spate of suspected gas attacks on girls' schools on Wednesday. Media outlets in the Islamic Republic reported hundreds of cases of respiratory distress have been reported in the past 3 months among schoolgirls in what one government official said could be an attempt to force the closure of girls' schools in the Islamic Republic.
At this girls' school in Tehran, a crowd of furious parents. Their anger triggered by what appear to be yet more aerosol poisonings at 3 girls' schools in the capital. In the city of Ardabil, a similar scene as 7 all-female schools were targeted. Iranian media report more than 100 students were hospitalized Wednesday, mostly with respiratory ailments. Some 800 students across the country have reportedly been poisoned while at school in recent months. The first cases were reported in the holy city of Qom in late November.
Look at my child. She can't feel her legs, even when I pinch them. She feels nothing. She can't breathe. Don't send your children to school.
Earlier this week, Iran's deputy foreign minister insisted poisoning reports were exaggerated, part of a psychological war led by a hostile media. By Wednesday, though, with public concern mounting, President Ebrahim Raisi had ordered an official investigation. But after months of violent crackdown on a protest movement sparked by the death of a young woman in the custody of the country's notorious morality police last September, public confidence is at an ebb.
The Iranian people's trust in authority is perhaps at its lowest. People are suffering financially, economically, emotionally. At its core, there's no transparency, there's no credibility, and there's no accountability.
Some Iranians suspect the poisonings are being carried out by religious hardliners trying to prevent girls from going to school. Others, though, fear official retaliation for strong female participation in the months-long protest movement.
Demonstrators seeking answers rallied outside the Athens office of Hellenic Train on Wednesday as the death toll in Greece's deadliest train tragedy rises.
A nation in mourning, demanding answers. Police in Athens used tear gas and batons to break up protests outside the headquarters of private rail operator Hellenic Train as Greece grapples with the aftermath of one of its worst ever rail disasters.
The causes must be investigated right now, so that there is no cover-up.
Dozens were killed when a passenger train collided with a freight train just outside a tunnel in the central city of Larissa near midnight Tuesday. Many of the dead were students returning to Thessaloniki after a holiday. Demonstrators staged a sit-in at the city railway station there. The trains had reportedly been running towards each other on the same track for many kilometers. The local station master, who blames a possible technical error, has been charged with manslaughter.
Everything shows that this tragedy was mainly due to human error. Justice will do its work. Responsibility will be assigned. Meanwhile, the state will stand with the families of the victims.
Greece's transport minister resigned in the wake of the accident, citing long-standing failures by the state to fix a railway system he said is not fit for the 21st century. Parts of the Greek rail network were privatized in 2017 as part of a multi-billion-euro bailout by the European Union and the International Monetary Fund. Trade unions have been warning for years of safety issues on the Athens-Thessaloniki line.
Argentinians were left without power on Wednesday afternoon after blackouts in the national grid due to a fire, officials said, as the country endures a major heat wave that has increased energy demand.
Blackouts in the middle of the day. In the streets of Buenos Aires, traffic lights are no longer working, nor are the lights in buildings or refrigeration in food shops. For over 2 hours, millions of Argentinians were cut off from electricity. The shortage affected this restaurant.
It's an ordeal. We don't have traffic lights, we don't have a generator, but we're going to transport all of our stock to another place where there is one.
This far-reaching power cut was caused by a fire near Atucha's nuclear power station, which several provinces depend on. It led to disarray on public transport. Here, dozens of trains ground to a halt, leaving thousands of passengers stuck.
When I got here, I found out there were no trains, apparently due to a power cut. I've been waiting for half an hour.
First, I experienced delays on the metro, and now I've been waiting for half an hour here. I think I'll be waiting for some time.
In the evening, authorities announced that power had been restored. The cause of the fire is currently unknown, but the outage occurred as Argentina is in the midst of a heat wave during one of the hottest summers in its history.
The West African states of Guinea and Ivory Coast are repatriating hundreds of their citizens from Tunisia, officials said on Wednesday, after Tunisian President Kais Saied triggered a storm by accusing sub-Saharan migrants of crime.
Relieved and escorted back to safety, these Guineans have just been repatriated from Tunisia after local authorities accused them of causing crime and changing the country's demographics.
When we go out, they catch us and put us in jail. You know, people talk about repatriation. Normally they send you to the airport, but they have prepared a special prison for sub-Saharians. When they catch you, they send you there. There are many Guineans who are in prison.
There are an estimated 21,000 sub-Saharan migrants in Tunisia. Following the President Saied's speech on terminating illegal immigration, most became victims of violent assaults, evictions without notice, and arbitrary arrests.
We cannot allow anyone to reside illegally in Tunisia. There is a state, and there are institutions. In some areas of Tunisia, the matter has reached the point of setting up courts by those who came illegally.
In the past week, dozens of migrants stood outside of their embassies seeking repatriation, prompting Guinea to charter emergency flights between Conakry and Tunis.
We went to get them. We brought them back safe and sound. This simply means that the doctrine advocated by the head of state remains in force.
Other countries like the Ivory Coast and Mali have also announced repatriation flights for those willing to return.
Nigeria's Electoral Commission has declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu the winner of last Saturday's presidential election. However, the two major opposition parties say the results were rigged and have vowed to challenge the results in court.
The man known as the godfather of Nigeria's Lagos state is now on his way to the country's highest office. Winning 37% or nearly 9 million of the total votes, Bola Tinubu emerged victorious in the hotly contested presidential contest. He takes over from Muhammadu Buhari, who's stepping down after the constitutional limit of 2 terms, marked by widespread insecurity and economic problems. But for some Abuja residents, it's not the fresh start they had hoped for.
On the 25th of February, we voted our choice. We do not vote for Tinubu. Women can no longer farm. There's no food in the market. Nigerians are hungry.
Tinubu's victory is being challenged by the opposition, People's Democratic Party and Labour Party. They allege the weekend election was rigged, with many Nigerians denied the chance to vote. Observers say last Saturday's presidential election was flawed by long delays and technical glitches with newly introduced voter accreditation machines. But INEC said the problem, though regrettable, was not an attempt to manipulate votes. Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi held a press briefing Thursday.
And I assure you that good people of Nigeria that will explore all legal and peaceful action to reclaim our mandate. We won the election, and we will prove it to Nigerians.
Tinubu has called for unity and wants the opposition to work with him. The opposition parties want a redo, but political analysts say that is only possible if they can prove enough votes were manipulated to sway the outcome. Experts say the new president faces a daunting task. Nigeria is battling Islamist militants and armed kidnappers, mostly in the north. The country's economy is also suffering from high inflation and shortages of fuel and hard cash. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
Turkish president faces re-election amid growing anger over his government's response to the massive earthquakes that have recently battered Turkey. The longtime Turkish leader is calling for unity and pledging a massive rehousing drive as the disaster is set to dominate polls announced for 14th May.
Government resign. Tens of thousands shout at a top league match in Istanbul, a chant repeated at many games nationwide. It's an expression of anger over claims the government reacted too slowly to February's deadly earthquakes.
Well, it was mayhem. I mean, there are still places where, there are still needs of tents. There are people who are still in the streets. And this is not just a natural disaster. This is a calamity that is caused partly by the unaccountability, the corruption, the cronyism, and the way that these buildings are built.
As the government faced growing criticism over its slow response, in Istanbul, people mobilized to collect food, water, and urgently needed clothes that went to the quake region within the first day. The main opposition, CHP party, through its mayors in Turkey's largest cities, like Istanbul, coordinated the operation and sent search and rescue teams.
They appear to be competent, effective, and able to mobilize their resources much more rapidly, which shows that if you take the issue of the earthquake seriously and you made your preparations for it, you invested in responding to earthquakes, you can actually move mountains. And it also showed that the opposition is capable of getting things done, contrary to the claims on the part of the government.
Erdogan, during his first visit to the quake-struck region, dismissed critics as ungrateful and shameless. But in his latest visit to the quake-stricken city of Adıyaman, the Turkish leader offered an apology and called for the people to move ahead as one.
Due to the devastating effect of the tremors and the bad weather, we were not able to work the way we wanted in Adıyaman for the first few days. I apologize for this.
Erdogan faces re-election this year and is vowing to, within a year, build hundreds of thousands of homes for the quake survivors. But the opposition is questioning the government's ability to build the houses. Analysts predict the disaster has put Turkey at a crossroads.
It's to everyone a big shock. It's actually like a mirror where you see the hideous parts of your face, that you understand you cannot continue on like this anymore.
Erdogan is calling for unity, claiming only his experience can meet the challenge facing Turkey. As the opposition sees it, the disaster was magnified by Erdogan's 20 years of mismanagement and corruption. Turkey is no stranger to acrimonious elections, but analysts this year predict an unusually bitter one. Dorian Jones for VOA News, Istanbul.
1 year after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the city of Kyiv has survived Russian assault and shelling. The war still shows no sign of ending.
On February 24, 2022, the Ukrainian capital woke up at 4 a.m. to the sound of explosions and approaching Russian military equipment. The battle for Kyiv was about to begin. International military experts predicted that the Ukrainian capital would fall to Russian forces within 72 hours, considering Russia's advantage with military personnel and equipment. 1 year later, the city of Kyiv is still standing, despite hundreds of massive shellings. The scars are visible around the city and have become a part of everyday life for residents. Parts of the city suffered the worst of Russian attacks on Kyiv. Some are still in ruins, while others are getting a new start. Katerina Ovchinnikova lives in Kyiv. She reflects on how the perception of war has changed over the last year.
Рік тому, зараз, ми
A year ago, we were very worried about the war. In our understanding, everything fell suddenly. We plunged into World War II like in the movies. There was nothing, and the sirens were wailing. Now we understand that even if there is shelling, if something happens, we do not panic.
Ovchinnikova spoke to us in the underground parking garage of her apartment building. It's now a shelter for her and other residents.
We defined it, at least for ourselves, as a bomb shelter. There are 2 exits to 2 different streets, and the parking is not only under the building, but also underground, which is very important.
The city of Kyiv today is full of fortifications and people wearing military uniforms. But along with the persistent fear and uncertainty, residents are still filled with hope that the war will end and Ukraine will again be free. Anna Chernikova for VOA News, Kyiv.
Texas lawmakers are considering blocking citizens of China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia from owning any kind of business in the state and restricting land they can own. Opponents of the legislation say it is racist.
Texas State Senator Lois Kolkhorst says legislation that would ban citizens of Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China from owning commercial businesses and certain types of land in Texas is about security.
Let me be clear that the citizens of the state of Texas understand the threat of which we are under. They are crystal clear about it. Both Democrats, Republicans, and independents. I have never seen something poll this high, ever. And so I'm proud to bring something before you to consider from the people.
Kolkhorst opened a public hearing on the legislation Thursday. State Representative Jean Wu says it is un-American to treat people differently because of where they were born.
What it's essentially saying is, well, every immigrant, every person from these countries is a spy, is a traitor, is a possible agent for these countries. And that is simply, it's unjust, it's unfair. And especially considering that many of the people coming from China, from Iran, from Russia, are people who are fleeing those governments.
Texas Department of Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says he worked hard with the lawmakers who drafted the legislation after a Chinese billionaire with alleged ties to the Chinese military bought more than 52,000 hectares of land in South Texas with plans to build a wind farm near the Air Force Base.
If an individual wants to buy land, just become a U.S. citizen. You can buy all the land you want once you're a citizen. But if you're a member of the Communist Party or one of our enemies, no, you don't get to buy land.
Jamal Abdi, president of the National Iranian American Council, says the problem with this bill is that it targets individuals with no ties to foreign governments. He believes it will greenlight greater racism.
I think it's going to encourage sort of vigilante-style enforcement where people are going to say, well, it's state law that I have to ban, Chinese citizens or Iranian citizens from buying a home or buying property. And so I'm going to take it into my own hands to make sure I'm not doing that.
Wu says the bill is bad for business.
China is the second largest trading partner with Texas, and China is the third largest purchaser of Texas goods. And if you tell graduate students that if you come here, you may not be able to buy a home, you may not be able to start a business, why would they come here? Why not go somewhere else where you are actually welcomed?
That's the whole point of the bill, is to keep people from China coming here and buying our land. You got it. That's the whole purpose. Yes, that will keep people from China coming here buying our land. We don't want that. It needs to stop.
If the bill is approved by both houses of the Texas legislature, Governor Abbott says he is ready to sign it into law. Dina Mitchell for VOA News, Austin, Texas.
Big tech shed tens of thousands of jobs over the past several months as giants Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft have reduced their workforces. But while white-collar jobs are cut, some blue-collar jobs are difficult to fill despite the rising wages in that sector of the economy.
As far as any leaks go, we need to take a lot of pictures today.
29-year-old Alec Antignani gave up his white-collar career in the financial services industry to continue his family's Brooklyn, New York-based business, Philco Plumbing. He says 2022 was a great year for his company financially, and he expects more growth in 2023.
I am looking to hire. I actively look to hire. I interview once a week. Every Wednesday we conduct interviews.
While many in the trades and blue-collar sector still struggle to hire employees, large white-collar companies, especially in the tech industry, cut their workforces, which had expanded significantly during the pandemic hiring spree.
I got laid off.
I got laid off.
I was laid off by Google. I was laid off from my job at Meta.
In January, Google cut 12,000 jobs, around 11,000 at Meta in November, and another 10,000 at Microsoft through March 31st, a widespread trend throughout the tech industry.
Now what we're experiencing is, we've got to cut the fat. We overhired. So instead of downsizing, which is what we would expect companies to do in tough times, they're right-sizing in anticipation of what's to come.
What's to come is what some economic experts call a short-lived recession. But various sectors of the economy will be affected differently by it.
Different people are going to experience the economy in different ways. White-collar workers are going to, may be caught up in a recession that blue-collar workers don't experience.
The reason for that is a lack of workers in the blue-collar labor market, which led to an increase in wages in this sector of the economy.
As long as there's a shortage in workers, we should expect to see wages increasing.
The depletion of the blue-collar workforce can be partially blamed on recent cultural shifts, experts say.
I think the problem that we run into is that we've gotten into this habit of saying it's important to go to college, it's important to go to college, it's important to go to college, instead of saying it's important to learn a skill.
Those in the trades worry about the longevity of their fields and say they need to adjust.
If our industry does not develop more technology, the younger minds aren't going to want to be a part of it because our generation, the millennial generation, is run by technology.
Experts say the demand for blue-collar workers and their increasing wages may eventually cool with an economic slowdown, while smaller tech companies could benefit from qualified workers losing their positions at large tech companies. Keith Kosinski for VOA News, New York.
In Israel, the ultra-Orthodox who strictly observe Jewish law are currently about 13% of Israel's population, although their numbers are growing due to a high birth rate. At the same time, a growing number of ultra-Orthodox youth are opting out of the community, often cutting all ties to their past.
Israeli ultra-Orthodox schools focus almost exclusively on religious studies, and most forbid their students to use the internet, which could take them outside their insular communities and into a liberal, secular society. But a growing number of ultra-Orthodox youth are choosing to break out. About 3,000 of these ultra-Orthodox youth, called Yotzim, have left the community in the past year, according to Yair Haas, the executive director of the Hillel organization. Hillel's network of more than 1,000 volunteers helps many of the Yotzim to begin new lives, offering temporary housing, education, and psychological counseling.
We offer a supportive community and a way to deal with loneliness. The loneliness is terrible because they are cut off from their families. Someone who leaves the ultra-Orthodox world is seen as a traitor to their values and way of life, and many of those who leave also deal with terrible guilt. It is crucial that they get support from others who have left the ultra-Orthodox world.
Hillel centers in 4 Israeli cities arrange communal dinners and other events to substitute for the close-knit ultra-Orthodox family life left behind. Some of the Yotzim were married, like Freddie, who was 18 when her parents arranged a match with a man she barely knew. VOA is using only the Yotzim's first names to protect their privacy.
One day I just left. I was 20 and I walked out of the house and I didn't know where I was going. For 3 months, every day, I was just looking for a place to sleep that night. Eventually, I found Hillel, and they arranged a place for me to live and other services.
Say the decision to leave took years.
There was a slow progression of me wanting to leave the ultra-Orthodox world because I wasn't allowed to sing in front of men. I wasn't allowed to dress how I want. I couldn't get the kind of, I had no skills for the world. I couldn't go out in the world and be treated decently in a job where I can move up.
Hillel helps Yotzim make up for the secular studies they never learned in ultra-Orthodox schools to prepare them for a job in the outside world.
I had to start over at zero, with new friends, a new language, a different culture. You have to study completely different things. You have no degree, no English or math.
Ultra-Orthodox political parties in Israel's new right-wing religious government are currently demanding massive budget increases to support their community's lifestyle, especially religious education. They want to keep their young people satisfied within the community and not tempted, like the Yotzim, to leave and join modern Israeli society. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
The Russian language is still widely spoken in Estonia. The country is now considering whether to limit its use.
This school is in Estonia, but classes here are held in Russian. Narva is on the border with Russia, and 97% of the population speak Russian.
I've learned Russian since I was born. My parents speak Russian.
A Soviet legacy that Estonia would like to phase out to show their opposition to Russia and assert their independence. To this end, by 2030, Estonian will become the only authorized language in schools throughout the country.
There are around 80 staff, 80 teachers. Of them, 25 qualified for this new requirement. It was a political decision, no doubt about it.
A situation that can be explained by the geographical proximity with Russia. There's only a river separating Narva from the Russian fortress of Ivangorod. But since Russia invaded Ukraine, a rift has developed amongst the local population.
I avoid talking about the war completely because it causes tension. If people aren't in agreement, it can quickly degenerate into a fight.
Another divisive subject is the destruction of hundreds of memorials across the country. This area is a pilgrimage site for certain Russian speakers.
I'm sad that they've not only taken away the Soviet tank that was here, but also all the other monuments. I hope that Russian culture isn't under threat in Estonia.
The mayor of Narva finds herself at the heart of this identity crisis. Her first language is Estonian. She's campaigning for a gradual integration of the Russian-speaking population.
It is a really strong and really difficult process. Estonia is a very young democracy.
30 years after independence, this process is just beginning, thanks to a new generation of Estonians who no longer have any particular connection to neighboring Russia.
We met one of the Senegal's e-supporting stars, Dex Jr., who is hoping to wipe the floor with his rivals in competitive video gaming tournaments.
For Dex Jr., consistency is key. He trains for hours every day on his favourite video game, FIFA.
No.
The 19-year-old has become a huge figure in Senegalese e-sport.
My passion comes from my brother. He's the one who taught me to play. My mother often didn't let me leave the house, so I stayed inside gaming. I realized over time that I was pretty good at it.
The teenager has already won 3 African championships on FIFA. Over the weekend, he took part in the preliminary stage of a national tournament where competition is fierce. Only 1 in 200 players make it past the first phase. This was no problem for Dex Jr. though, who beat the Senegalese champion to retake the title and qualify for a prestigious international tournament in Paris.
As promised, I've done it. I won the tournament. I'm truly delighted. I'm so happy to have won.
The weekend's tournament was organised by the Association of Senegalese Gamers, who say such events shine a light on local talent.
I honestly think that we're the best country on the continent when it comes to FIFA, because we have really good players. Internationally, we haven't had the chance to compete on the biggest stages to show what we have to offer, but I'm sure that will come. Senegal has some great talent.
In May, Dex Jr. will take part in the E-League Tour 1 tournament in Paris, where he stands to win up to €3,500.
It's 7:30. We've come to the end of our international news. After the break, we'll be speaking to Miss Ecotourism Zandisile How. Alright, welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. Sakuvusila na ule sanza kuzivulela. It's a Friday morning. Sijitana singena ukuthi we'll be speaking to Miss Ecotourism Zandisile How. She's a UNESCO graduate. She obtained a degree in BA Humanities, majoring in Geography and Environmental Science, and also planning as well as African languages and literature. She's a 23-year-old and she has started doing a few school visits to engage with children on a guided conversation about what they know about the environment, as well as Naya Studio to talk to us about her goals, about her projects. She was crowned last year in November. Good morning and welcome. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, firstly, Nje, let's hear about you. Zandisile. As I've just mentioned, you're a graduate. You're a UNESCO graduate. Tell us more about yourself, Nje.
Okay, I am Zandisile How. I grew up in Babane Peakspeak. I am a firstborn daughter to my mother, so I'm a proud big sister to my younger brothers. I am passionate about the environment and the people, so as such, I'm actually part of Eswatini, which is a youth climate change network, where we just try to get together and solve whatever issues that we can within our power with the resources that we have.
All right. So let's just get into it, Zandisile. What is ecotourism all about? You know, if you could just explain that to us. And I think so you're an environment person and also you studied environment in university. So vele environment team for Tako, which I suppose which is why the reason you entered the competition is ecotourism. What is ecotourism all about?
Well, basically ecotourism is about sustainable travel, uniting communities, because these tourist sites are within communities. They are not on their own. It's about conservation, preserving our natural resources, our wildlife, and also the culture in it. It's about environmental education, because these tourist sites can actually provide employment opportunities, environmental education. There's so much we can learn about our plants that we grow, our indigenous plants that we grow. There's so much we can learn about these small insects that we have and their important value about they have in our ecosystem. So ecotourism is just about sustainable travel and all about conservation and the good for the environment and the people.
And my insects, so you must know about insects.
Not all. I'm still learning. You learn every day. There's always something new. Even your culture as a Swazi person, there's always something new that you learn every day. I think you learn until you die. Yeah.
So what is your main objective as, Miss Ecotourism? So I did mention you have started, visiting schools. So I will assume part of your objectives is visiting communities, teaching people about the environment. What are some of your objectives as, Miss Ecotourism?
Yes, the objectives are community sustainable development, educational, environmental education, teaching people awareness about the environment, on how our impacts have on the environment. We shouldn't be wasteful with our resources. We should be innovative too, because natural resources run out. So we need to be innovative as humans, as Swazis, because we're more than capable with coming up with beautiful ideas. In fact, a lot of the youth, as I said, because I'm part of the youth climate change, there's so many beautiful ideas that we have. I think all we lack is the funding and the help and the mentorship and the guidance to help bring our ideas to life.
Speaking of the youth, as you do your community visits, are they keen on learning about climate change, and the environment, insects, because, some of Bamblabasha are more on, social media, but not on such great issues.
You'd be surprised. I think a lot of them are engaged because, as we know, the effects of climate change, we as the youth are going to feel them more than our grandparents because they'll be died by the time the severe effects happen on us. So I think we have so much exposure to the information about climate change is happening. We don't even need to have the information. We actually see it on the ground that there's so many rains we're experiencing. There's so much drought they're experiencing. So I think they're actually more than willing to engage, because it also does come with opportunities of employment. So I think they are engaged. We're not just all about groove and social media. We do have a serious side to us.
Okay, so let's talk about this project that you have started recently, visiting children, just having a conversation with them. How is that going? What are your plans, going forward?
It's fun. Firstly, because I love children, so engaging with them is just a fun day for me. And it's interesting to hear what ideas they have about saving the environment. What do they know so far about the environment and what's wrong and what's good about it. So I'll further be engaging with them, children all around the schools. I mean, all from preschool up until tertiary level. I think we all need to stand together and hold hands and be more involved in saving the environment.
Yeah. So I suppose this is one of your many projects, lined up for 2023. So what are some of your other projects that are in the pipeline for the year 2023?
Well, I would love to further empower women in the tourism industry, because then the women in this industry tend to be the lowest paid, and they also have the lowest status jobs, which is unfortunate because they actually contribute so much to our economy in the tourism industry. So I think they need more protection, more exposure, and the more rights to have more access to microfunding, whatever that they need.
Okay.
And of course, the youth, I'm always engaging with them, and the protection of children, because then they are actually the most vulnerable out of all of us in our society. So they also need protection. They also need guidance, access to education, and all of that good stuff. So I'd love to engage more with all of those people that I've mentioned.
Okay.
So
what has your experience been like, since you've been crowned, any pressures that you're feeling? You're a queen, Miss Ecotourism. So how's it going so far?
So far, it's been fun. I've enjoyed meeting new people in the environmental industry. I've appreciated the help. People have been outreaching to try help where they can. Of course, it does have its few ups and downs, but it's all in the learning curve. I really am enjoying the experience so far.
Okay. So, Sferagovaje, what are your plans now? I know that you're still in this position, but you're a graduate, so graduating. I've been planning, I think my plans are, furthering your studies,
I'd love to further my studies into master's program. I'd also would love to be employed. So for me right now, whichever comes first, I'll take it. The job or the master's, I'll go in that direction.
Okay, you're so beautiful. So I want us to talk about that experience, before you just entered the competition lane. Confidence, where you got that confidence, who inspired you to join Miss Ecotourism? How were you feeling? Were you certain, definitely this one is for me?
Okay, initially I had actually joined Miss Eswatini, but my mission statement has always been about the environment. So I went up until top 10, top 5, and on the crowning night, there was a surprise crowning. So Miss Eswatini got crowned, and I also got crowned. So for me to join, my friends were just like, why don't you join? And I was like, are you guys sure? There's some insecurities you have about yourself as a human, and they're just like, oh, my friend, it's not that bad. You've got nothing to lose, but only everything to gain. So I joined, and I was just like, okay, let's do this. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, so what would be your message, your last message to everyone, taking care of the environment as your environment person?
I think it doesn't take much to help save the environment. Little acts such as reusing your plastics in your house, upscaling whatever old equipment you have. You can actually even sell it to recycle centers because they do buy back materials such as papers, such as plastic bottles. So I think what we need to do is be less wasteful. We should equip ourselves with more knowledge about the environment in our country. And I just encourage people to be positive and help each other.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Zandisile, and all the best for your future projects and plans. So Tevile Mugele was speaking to Miss Ecotourism 2022-2023, Zandisile how she's a UNESCO graduate. Let's take a break. Stop in our sports.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break, and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who pays for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
Welcome back. Siyakuvusela nolosanze kusivulela lesikhathi sitabuka dona tindzaba temidlalo. We have our sports journalist Patizwe Msibi. We'll just look at a recap tindzaba letenteke kule viki temidlalo bese sitabuka nje kafishane lezitaba letenteka kule mpelasomva lesicala kuyo. Patizwe, welcome. Good morning. Unjani? Yeah, ngifuna nje sicala nganaye ama-awards. I think le ngubonile nje lekungichazile ngiyo indzaba yokuthi kuwine youth kuma sportswoman na sportsman of the year. Just a recap nje ngawo lama awards ukuthi ahambe kanjani and who are some of the winners laba khomilisiwe.
Okay, Lungwane, mhlambe lama awards lanka abakhona kuqala since 2019 ngicansi kwaba nale break ya COVID kwaseke limala cause most of my activities, sports activities that is bekangasiko active. So abe sayahlala akasabanjwa ke ngoba bekuthitwe makalaunch okuqala bese batawuba khona every other 2 years abakhona. So kwahlala ke leso sikhashana nyalo ngoba I think umnyaka wesithathu so lo singabi nawo agcine ke abe khona, but ke ngendlela le into ke ngayolungelele kube sibhuthubhuthu ngisho kanjalo, if I can use that word, as compared to the first ones la abakhona nyalo kube nje short cala kwaba ne nomination period le proper lapho khona the associations were nominating for almost every other category. Kwaba ne voting process le clear ukuthi kwentekani, kwavota abantu ubona ku Facebook bacela bavotele and everything, the awards bekamaningi even nalama category. I think this time around ma category lebeka fulekile ukuthi angavotela ngisho kuvotela beka around 8. So nyalo kujakekile kwentiwa quickly. Imagine awards, sports awards abanjwe on a Wednesday at 12 femini. So it tells you ukuthi some things that need batijagile or just khona bese ngwaphusha, but then again you have to understand, I think it's June if not August, I'm not sure of the date as of yet. The country is expected to host regional awards, sports awards regions from South Africa, SADC wonke kumele host Eswatini this time around, but it was going to be unfair for Eswatini ukuthi host awards and ababe ngisho nominee kulama awards. So ukuze kuthi ube nema nominees kulama awards, you have to have had your own awards kube khona lo wabambile now. So that's why ubonile sibhuthubhuthu kwenteka masinyana, so they're trying to catch up because babe nema awards abo bachubekele embili. But the day happened, I almost say the night, the day happened lapho khona kube sekuyahlumeliswa khona the minister of sports, Harris Bulonga, was there. Sports associations onke beka khona amelele ema associations awo bawina ke bozweli. I think uZweli was the biggest winner, nanolwazi ngonyana they were the biggest winners of the night because they won the sportsman and sportswoman of the year. Then kwabana labo ke labancane baboheli hall abawine ama junior sports awards lungelele and abaqeqeshi babo taekwondo nabo bakhonile kuwina, and a team taekwondo who I believe ukuthi rather team chess lehambile ya overseas yabuya neteam endlela nayo ikhonile ukuthi iwin. I think ilungelele sekuthi kube sekuyashanga leminyaka ukuthi babuka la kugcina la, yabona, bese kubuka lana kugcina la lokunye uva ngazuthi sekukhashana kakhulu. You expect ukuthi especially Somathenjo with the calendar year lekabe nayo last year in terms of competitions, he was going to walk away with the sports men's sports awards of the year. Lapho khona remember kuma Olympics he did well, remember kuma Commonwealth he did well, so you will expect ukuthi bokungaba nguye, but then again bese safe ukuthi no yena utongena ku the next edition. Le mfula kai achieve for the next. Oh yes, so it's like that.
Lapho nje siyabona yini kushintsha kwabantu laba award khona mhlambe siba ukuthi sokuba bamfu banye kuba khona into lolishintsho nje leli bakhona.
To tell you the truth, okay, this time around we saw the because lana le outlet now we know about Spusiso the last edition, but then again Spusiso is still dominating in everything. So he's still dominating. Mina lungelele, I don't believe ukuthi kumele change just because we are changing. Yeah. Change because change. If we're seeing the same faces dominating, and that's when someone, I always say this in my athletics, that's
because we are team
he works hard, he trains hard. So we have to say, so singafuni kushintsha. Yes, my winners lungelele sibabonile, like I mentioned boheli ho bawine ema juniors, and I know with her talent she's going for that big award in a few years to come because she's doing very well swimming. And then of course now Bagachess just has been doing well, taekwondo has been doing well. Now we're expecting pretty soon start changes in terms of winners, start performance. But of course I believe if this country can have an opportunity to win a medal, come big international events, not just African events, big international events, taekwondo. I've seen them grow in the sport, and I've seen the projects in terms of academy grooming of these kids. Lesotho, I think at that time 3 of them came back with gold medals, silver and bronze. And then the next junior tournaments, Sadak Lebega Corner, Region 5, Lebega Corner, Emalau, Bonka Taekwondo Bong 5, Babianema gold.
Okay.
So Kuchinsa progress.
All right, let's get into what is happening this weekend. Kune aerobics festival, kune Premier League, but ngifuna sicala ngala aerobics festival. Because it's like sijale ukuthi mhlambe kuba nebhola but sekunalamanye ama sporting activities laba khona ngale weekend. Sichazele nje ngale festival.
Kune festival lapha eMavuso lungelele kusasa sicala ekseni. Ekusasa lapho khona kunabo instructor labahlukahlukene labaqhamuka from different gyms labaningi, so everyone can join. Akunensaba ukuthi ugym up when you can just go there and compete. It's free entry, but there are prizes to be won. In terms of kubani we are connected register as a team, because then friend compete as a team on step box, well, like know all the terminology akhona box 76, but kunalama categories labawabekile ukuthi mawufile ungakwenda lokho compete lokho. The event is sponsored by Instacash, hence over ukuthi kungena mahala, but there are prizes, so there is a sponsor of this tournament. No need for you to go to registration, just get yourself there. It's going to take the whole day, but so it's going to be, we're expecting a period of days that we're not successful, so we're expecting that event.
Nangena mahala atawugcwala noma kanjani. Alright, Premier League this weekend ngimaphi nje ama games mhlambe lesingawakatha.
Of course, the Premier League uyaqhubeka lapho khona songena ku match week 18 dabe kudlalwa across the country again, and it's happy to see ukuthi Mavuso is back on phinde soyakhona ukudlalisa ama game. We're still hoping ukuthi somhlolo pretty soon daphinde avulele ama team ala Premier League ukuthi adlale, because right now they are struggling with the traveling and all that. The ground la akhona lang 3 la local, there is Mavuso, there is Somhlolo, there is Prince of Wales, la mathim la maningi siyathi usalamba abantu emanzini, so they can utilize those grounds if nasomhlolo angavula can help a lot. But nje most of ama games lamanye la khona dlala kokalanga kune Green Mamba itabidlala neThambothi. Green Mamba ke ma local leaders ayo eM10 Premier League, so they'll be looking at extending that lead khona etole kulo position. Bese la Prince of Wales finally Mbabane Swallows bayivumela ukuthi idlale home game Prince of Wales, where the fans will be allowed. Previously bayalele ukuthi idlale la because of security fears, in terms of ukuthi it's almost an open ground, so there's nothing protecting the players from the fans or the match officials. Whatever can happen, it's just one-way entry because we've seen the kind of violence we've been seeing in the country. It's going to be a double header the 7 Dreams, the Tatfran and the Young Buffaloes immediately after the game. In Mbabane Swallows. And then on Sunday, Kings Opposer, Imanzini Sipets in Tabitha and the Monene Pirates. But teams first round, winner, Monene Pirates are winner 2-1, and Sipets will be looking good for a revenge. And Monene has been playing very, very beautiful football, and they are carrying the results this time around. Sipets inconsistency, win, draw with you, win, but now they'll look at beating Monene to keep the momentum going, because they want to consider themselves a big team pretty soon. And then on Sunday, Mavuso Stawbugela Yona Iten sometimes the Tabin months in Wanderers, but teams are not doing well. But teams are struggling. Then Sundowns has been struggling. I think they have lost their last 4 or 5 games. Manzini Wanderers inconsistent now, but before a big team to be in relegation talks, actually going for Lengasho Spy Chabela Baka Manzin, and then in Babana Highlanders it out for an aerial level part, which I think it's the peak of the weekend. The big game in Babane Highlanders, winning the first round. I think it was 3-2 score. It was a very, very entertaining game. Winner Babane Highlanders. Let us say winner got in 5 games against Ira Leopard, so they want to keep that momentum going. They want to keep that winning streak by such a back now about punish Ira Leopard, just like Ira Leopard together punish. So it's gonna be a very interesting.
It's a busy weekend. All right, I'm going to like my aerobics.
Taking
your for all right, so it's 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. Let's go and let the tita betindega glimpela some for the midla my aerobics that I be weekend, and also in the Premier League nayo this weekend. The second break, so we are still valid.
license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3# and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.